Okay, this presentation will be about running Python jobs in parallel on an Amazon EC2 cluster. So first, we're going to go to this link here. Now what this site has is it has a bunch of modules in different categories of what you can do in parallel or something similar to parallel like multi-threading. So the first category is symmetric multiprocessing. Now remember, the focus of this presentation is to run things on an Amazon EC2 cluster in parallel. So to run something in symmetric multiprocessing does not fit under our focus, so we're going to ignore this entire category. Now let's go down to cluster computing. Now when you look at cluster computing, it seems to be really similar to symmetric multiprocessing but in parallel. But since we want to run something through a third-party network, this isn't going to be part of our focus. So let's go down to the next category. The next category will be cloud computing. Now, cloud computing is similar to cluster computing, except that the developer's compute resources are owned and managed by a third party, the cloud provider. Now, this seems to be a little bit more of what we're looking for with an Amazon EC2 cluster ran in parallel. This seems to fit our focus. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at these modules. First off, you have the Google App Engine, which is just to run apps. But that's not the focus of this. We want to run programs and code on Amazon EC2 cluster, so the Google App Engine isn't going to be what we're looking for. And then we have PyCloud, and PyCloud seemed to be a good choice. The issue is that PyCloud was bought out by Dropbox, and the site was put down, so that's no longer an option. However, we have Starcluster. Now, Starcluster is a cluster computing toolkit for the AWS cloud. Now, that seems to be exactly what we're looking for, so looking at Starcluster a little bit deeper. Now, what I've done with Starcluster is I've made a bit of a guide to help you with the beginning of Starcluster. Now, let's start. You can follow the link that I have, or you can just Starcluster into Google. Go to the home web page. On the left, you'll have download, and then you can just download it here directly. But I'm going to show an alternate way that you can get this, and this is also going to be in the guide. My terminal shows up. Is that we can copy, where is it? You can copy this code that I've linked here. And we can just run this code directly onto the terminal, and it will download it for us using the wget command. Now when this is done, we will follow the next set of directions located here. So we're going to open up the tar file, so xvzf Starcluster, and the x's are just variables for the number of Starcluster that you've downloaded, the version number. So we have 0.952. So, oh, that downloaded rather quickly. And then we're going to change our directory to the Starcluster that we just set up. Now make sure that you have the S and the C in Starcluster capitalized, or it may not work. Because when you made the new directory as a part of downloading it, it capitalized like that. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to set up the setup so that we can download Python. Give it a second to load, and then sudo python setup.py install. This is important because part of what you need for using Starcluster is Boto, and Boto will come as a part of the latest Python download. Boto is how you access an Amazon EC2 cluster, but all the coding and everything that you'll need for Boto is within Starcluster. You don't need to do it yourself. Get rid of some of the difficulty. Next command we're going to run is Starcluster help, which will get you into the configuration. And you'll run an error, and we'll say the configuration does not exist. So you can show the configurations template, write it, or quit. What we're going to do is we're going to write the configuration template, so just put 2. And now you need a text editor so that you can edit what you've written. So what I'm going to use is Vim. So if you don't have Vim, you can just follow this example here, apt-get install Vim. And this is going to take a while, so I'm just going to skip through this part because it's going to take a while for it to download. Okay, so the Vim has finished downloading. Now what we're going to need to do is we're going to have to run it through our configuration file. So we're just going to vim ~starcluster.config. So let's do that right now. And what you get is you have a template that comes with your download where it will have all of this information for you. Just to first note, the most important thing is change your node instance. If you have a new account for the first year, I believe you get to run. Let's do insert. If you don't know, you can just press I and it'll give you insert, so you can type things in. t1.micro. So next we're gonna have to put in our information, and there will be some difficulty depending on how well you know what you're doing with AWS. But if you don't know where your security key is, you can follow this link that I've attached in the guide. Follow this link here to go up. I'm going to open up another tab so that I can log into AWS. Okay. Now let's just, I'm a returning user. Okay, so let's go back to this tab. Where's my secret access key? Well, it tells you to go to your security credentials page in your console managing your account, and then go to access keys. So I will show you how to do that. Just click on your account, go to security credentials, continue, don't do IAM users, and then access keys. And I will make up an access key. So just delete this one. You can only have 2 access keys at a time. So if you want to create a new one, you will have to delete an old one. Let's save this. And you only get to save it once, so make sure that you save it when you're doing it, or else you won't have access to it, and that will be bad. Okay, so let's go back to the guide, back to the terminal I had open. Let's open up another terminal. Okay, so let's check that it downloaded properly. And it did, under rootq.csv, so let's open that up. Alright, so now we have the information that we want. Let's copy this. Let's put it in here. Paste. And then let's copy this. Be very careful, it gets copied a little bit weird, so just make sure you're not copying over your username. You might get an error in your configuration. So let's copy that in. And then the next step is to get your user ID. If you don't know what your user ID is, you can go back to the browser here, just from the same page that we're on. Just go down a bit further, account identifiers, and you can have your account ID. Don't put in the hyphens when you're putting in your account ID, just put in the numbers. So let's go back to the terminal to move this up a bit so you can see the ID, and we have 75941053 and then 6912. Okay. Now the next thing is we need a key pair. So what we're going to do for this, we're going to go up here, go to Services, and then Compute EC2. This will bring you to your management display for all of your EC2 dashboards. And what we're going to do is let's make a new key pair. Let's call it Practice. Okay. So we're going to create a new key pair. We will call it Practice. Yes. Remember, again, you're going to have to download it. This will be your only option to download it, so make sure that you do it now. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our terminal. Let's bring up our guide just to help us along. So let's see, which step are we on now? We've gone through our access key, and we've gone through our user ID. Next step here is to put our key in. So first what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to activate keygen if you haven't already. So let's go back to our other terminal. Okay. And let's see, go down here. Alright, ls. See, this right here is our key pair, but we want our key pair to be in our SSH keygen. So let's activate that. Okay, so let's go down a bit. Don't want you to see my art. Okay, so we have our, let's make sure it got a loaded right. Okay, it did. So let's go back to downloads, and let's move this file, and let's move it to, okay, let's check it worked. Alright, and we see that it worked. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put that key pair in the path that it's in. Key pair was called practice.pem. And then you're going to have to call the key pair one more time. So when it comes to the key name, you have to call your key pair name one more time. It's very important, do not forget. Okay. So that's all you need for the configuration at this point. You've set up Starcluster. Now let's exit with escape : WQ. Okay.